more on practical aspects. For example,
You think
moving to a
Amaranth
new
can make
country.
good kids?
I don't know. I barely know her personality. All I know is that,
I'm not going to personality.
oh, just off the looks. I forgot what she even looked like. I just remember she had like
She's an orange head.
ginger hair. That's all I remember. I remember she has ginger hair. That's it.
Really? Would you fuck Amaranth?
He said, "Why are you looking at women's legs?" He's trying to catch you in 4K. He's trying to catch you in 4K. Hey,
Bro,
yo.
Eto boy, I know you're not talking, boy. You look like a pervert, bro.
We did not talk deeply about cultural
Appreciate the lurkers
aspects
though, but
that
hey,
you might
try talking
find it
China, you get
difficult
packed
to
up.
adapt
Simp.
to. And no, I'm not gonna give you lame answers.
Appreciate you coming
like
through,
the toilet
Bozy.
spray your butt too hard.
Zo.
These
Bro, that junk be heavenly, bro. Like the cheeks, bro. Bro, it be hitting different, bro.
Oh
It's
my
like you get
gosh.
it squirt. Like, it's like you pouring like a water bottle, but it squirts in your cheeks, bro.
Bro.
It actually hit different.
Why he was paying that? Why he was in pain?
your butt too hard.
Is there like an aggressive that man pressed?
These cultural aspects that have developed over hundreds of years and have made
Jackie
Japan
Chan.
what it is today. The purpose of this video isn't to make you hate Japan or say Japan is such a bad country. We just
I love
want to make
Japan.
sure you have the full picture of this country, like good
Japan,
things
Japan.
and then bad things. I asked Mr. Eats to share his experience
Spike
from
it
a
with that
non-Japanese point of view.
Did somebody call me?
You're only gonna get
Like
chips
7:45,
after you
like
talk
7
about some
to like 8
Japanese cultural
o'clock.
aspect.
Those
that
are like the
people
most
will
coolest
hate.
hours I like, bro.
Okay. Now, in order
Japanese
for daily
culture
life in
aspect.
Japan to flow smoothly, a lot of people have a public face and a private face. This is called honne tatemae, and it's the first cultural aspect.
I actually have that. Well, actually, no, actually, it's not right there because my private face still looks the same. It's just on the inside of it. But this is a little bit too different.
What's
I
that? Is
think
that
a
like your
lot of
inner demon or like your inner you? Is that what that's supposed to represent?
That looks like it represents like you have a whole different phase. Like one like your public appearance is like
You
you're
say you
very-
have that.
you're very-
Weird. It's like you like a human facade, like Two-Face, you know?
Yeah, it's
like
like I think it's like a it's like it can be a personality disorder or it could be.
It's that
another
one thing
illness
we
or
was
something.
talking about, nigga. Remember? It's just Toronto talking about. I ain't heard of it before, but the nigga with like 10 consciousness and shit, and like it's like a different person, bro. It's like he
Yeah.
said like you're like 10 main characters, but you could switch to them and you can't control it, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't control
demonic,
it.
bro.
That's the tough thing about that too. Something like that. And it's just all around tough, bro.
Bro, at that point, I would shoot myself, bro.
I mean,
On some what's that nigga? What's that nigga that's on the hoverboard on Spider-Man? That nigga got it. Put a
really
picture.
gonna struggle with here in Japan.
It's like the original Spider-Man.
talking about that dude.
Green Goblin, my nigga Green Goblin. That nigga be demonic to himself. He be beating his ass, bro. He be self-harming. He is one of the most dooniest.
I mean, because he
Yo,
has
want me to show you?
schizophrenic. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that
That's
junk is
what-
out of pocket.
But yeah, I think they have to hopefully.
Honne is your
something.
true feelings.
Bro, would
your
you be in a
true
room with a schizophrenic person, bro?
Bro, I've been around psychopaths, bro. I've been around GTA murders from
That was
GTA.
a fun experience, huh? It was fun, huh?
It was
He was talking to a GTA character.
Elder Ring difficulty. That's what I'm gonna say.
desires, your private face. And tatemae is how you act in front of maybe your boss or your coworkers or people you're not very close to, your public face. This is such a huge part of
That makes it look
Japanese
so
culture and
intimidating.
society, and it's impossible to separate them. Now this commercial sums up this whole concept perfectly.
Thank you, yikers.
Did he explain how it is to be black out there?
Not yet. That dude's about to shank somebody, bro.
you're gonna come across hone tatemae a lot in your daily life, whether that's from your coworkers, your neighbors, or even your in-laws. They might tell you, yeah, sure, which is tatemae, but in their head, they're really thinking, no, I'd rather not, which is honne. And the hardest part about all of this is that you have to
I would have been
figure
like,
out
hone,
what
hone,
they're trying
all
to
day,
say
every day.
without them actually saying what they want to say. The goal of this is
So
not
we're playing telekinesis? I think I'm a pass on that one, Chief. That sounds like brain assaulting. I'm sorry.
and deceive someone. Instead, it's to be
You want
indirect
me to
in a country like
telekinesis,
America, where we speak
read
to each
people's
other in a very
brains?
direct and clear manner. In Japan, it is
I'm failing that one,
completely the
Chief.
opposite. You want to speak in a very indirect manner. You don't want to say things clear and direct because that can be seen as aggressive and unpleasant. I remember one time I was a little late for work, and when I got into the office, my coworker said, "Hey, are you okay? I've never seen you come in late, so I was just a little worried that something happened to you." But what he was really trying to say was, you are late. Don't do that anymore. So when it comes to a lot of aspects in life, Japanese prefer to go about it the indirect way. Well, except when it
That's kind of weird. Whoa, whoa. Hey, I still respect and love Japan, but this is why I'm not visiting. I'm sorry. I don't want to go through that. I'm not trying to go through telekinesis training. I'm good. I'm good, man. What? They said bro, did you hear what the guy said? He said in Japan, bro, they go about things like in an indirect manner, like heavy. So like he said an example, you came late to work, right? The guy said, "Oh, hi, you good? Like, are you okay?" You came late, so I was just worried. That actually means that you're late. Don't actually ever do that again. What? Hey, yo. Hey, no sir, I pass on that.
comes to this. And if you're a fan of Concho, then make sure you pick up your own Concho University shirt from our merch store. So you kind of have to be a detective, taking all these little clues and putting it together and trying to figure out exactly what somebody is trying to tell you. So if you're somebody that likes to be clear and direct with somebody and you like them to be frank with you as well, then that's probably going to be one of the biggest issues that you're going to be dealing with here in Japan. There's an old Japanese saying, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down. So there's an immense social and cultural pressure for you to fit in. Not only that, but you must put the group's well-being above any individual's. This is illustrated really well in this fact. Japanese workers are more likely to use only half of their paid vacation time. Now, in a typical Japanese workplace, each worker carefully considers how their actions impact their team members and their coworkers. So if somebody takes a week's vacation, their job becomes a responsibility of the coworkers. So they just end up feeling like they're a burden on everybody around them in the workplace. Now, this kind of group thinking can be beneficial because if the group does well, then of course you do well. But the pendulum can swing back the other way because if you or someone in your group messes up, the whole group might get punished. In 2017, there were 8 members of a high school baseball team in Sendai who were caught smoking and drinking several times on and off school grounds. And as a result, the whole baseball club was not allowed to practice for a whole month. The kids who did nothing but carry the equipment or the substitute players, they got punished from playing as well because of those kids' actions. And not only that, but the coaches of the baseball team themselves had to resign because of what those 8 students did. So this sort of group thinking permeates all aspects of Japanese society, from your work life to your relationships to even your family life. Now, right behind me is Gion-dori.
You mess up
this
somebody,
is a place that is
you
well
mess up
known
everybody
as
else
the
is
geisha
messed
district,
up.
the
That's
largest
crazy.
geisha district in all of Japan. And speaking of geisha, I want to talk about the role of women in Japanese society. Go back to the idea of 1950s America, where the idea of a good housewife was submissive, obedient, and stayed home to care for the kids. That's kind of how Japan still is. And I say kind of because women do have the freedom to choose their careers, but there is a lot of pressure from family, from friends, and from society in general for them to eventually have kids, stay at home, and take care of them. But if that's not what they want to do, then they may be seen as a little odd or a little strange. And even if a woman does decide to dedicate her life to her career, there are still a couple of domestic tasks at the office that a woman is gonna have to do, like making tea for a client or for their boss. And yes, unfortunately, there are still some guys out there who think it's okay to put their hands on a woman or to take inappropriate pictures of them out in public. Here's a poster that I saw recently at a train station that illustrates just that. Now, I want to make sure to clarify that it's not all Japanese men who are doing this, nor is it just a normal everyday occurrence. But there are a small handful of bad people out there who think it's okay, and it is a problem that women should be aware of. That's Yasaka Shrine right behind me. It was established in the year 656 AD. Now, Japan is full of rich culture and ancient history, and that ancient history is also what affects the cultural mindset of many Japanese people. Now, I mentioned earlier that Japanese people won't use all their vacation time at work because it is a burden on others, and that's just the way it is. And there are a lot of other opinions that a lot of Japanese people hold for seemingly no other reason than that's just the way it is. For example, shortly after arriving here, I learned about this thing called the Financial Independence Retire Early movement. And it's basically the idea that while you're young, you work hard, save enough money so you can retire at an earlier age. So you have more time to spend doing the things that you love to do and spending it with the people that you love. I wanted to share it with a lot of my Japanese coworkers and Japanese friends, and I was met with the same response. Why would you want to do that? You should work your whole life and then retire. That's just the way it is. So for some of you, this rigidity that some people have in thinking here may be difficult for you to deal with. If you yourself are an unconventional thinker, you might find it hard to make relationships with people who are open to new ideas like you are.
What advice would you give to people about dealing with these cultural aspects?
So it might be natural, I think, for a lot of people to start judging the culture like as good or bad because they're comparing it to what they know from back home. And of course, there are some real bad parts about Japanese culture, like the women's issues that I talked about earlier. But there are a lot of good things in Japanese culture, and I think most cultural aspects here in Japan are not good, they're not bad, they're just different. If you can accept Japanese culture for what it is, rather than judging it or comparing it to other countries, you'll have a lot easier time living here. There is a hidden benefit to being an outsider.
Ooh.
Japanese people are going to give you a little bit more leeway when it comes to following certain cultural aspects just because you're an outsider. Maybe you were supposed to bow, but you didn't bow. Most people won't hold it against you. They probably won't look at you and say, oh, he was so rude because he didn't bow. It takes a lot of pressure off of you, so you don't have to worry about looking perfect.
And then one thing I want to add is you can always ask Japanese people around you. In my country, we do this, but I don't know what I should do in the same situation in Japan. And then they understand, oh, okay, so you don't know how we do it in Japan. Let me explain. They are more than happy to explain for you.
Japanese culture is centuries old. So a lot of the thoughts and a lot of the way that people interact here in Japan, that was developed over hundreds and thousands of years. And to really understand it, you have to go back into the past, to look at its history, and when you understand its history, then you can understand how it's been changed to fit into this modern world that we're living in right now. So just to give you guys an idea of how ancient Japanese culture is, consider the fact that sake brewing was happening in the 8th century. It was done by priestesses of certain shrines, and they would brew sake to offer to the gods. So we actually learned this fact from today's sponsor, Tipsy.
Tipsy is a unique sake subscription box service where you can enjoy.
Pretty smooth ad right there.
And there was this girl, she was a foreign girl, and she came up next to me and she held the umbrella over my head and she asked me in Japanese, do you want me to walk with you? That never happens in Japan. And I was so shocked. She did that from the bottom of her heart. And even though it doesn't happen in Japan, people don't do that, she still felt like this is something I want to do for somebody. So if there's some things that you want to continue to do because that's just the person that you are, I don't think there's any harm in doing it, as long as it's something that's helpful to people, as long as it's something kind and it's not hurting them in any way. I say, why not? It's important to understand how Japanese people teach this to each other from a young age. And to be honest, they use some pretty crazy tricks to teach these kids these rules and these cultural aspects, and you can learn all about that in this video here. And if you haven't seen part 1 of this video, then you can watch that over here. Thanks for watching. Okini.
Gimme.